Hey,
Yo, yo, yo.
there he is.
All right.
I love that backdrop, man.
Hey,
Perfect.
live and direct.
Wow, my God, man. Listen,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me on the Low Theory. Appreciate you hopping on, even though
hmm
you're working on the mural at the moment and you took time to chop it up with me. So thank you, man.
No problem, man. Out here in the D, live and direct from the glove. No,
What's the weather like out there?
it's real hot, real muggy. It rained earlier, so if you see me doing kung fu online, and I'm just chopping mosquitoes, bro, because they're real out here.
It's real out there.
It's real in the field, man.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
man.
the mosquitoes roll mob deep.
That's crazy. We could talk about the mural that you're currently doing. Let's talk about that towards the end. But
Got
right
you.
now, I want to take you back a little bit. And for those who are paying attention and listening, who might not be familiar with you, I used to see you around Boston all the time at rap shows and stuff like that. When I was doing MCing and things like that. So I think I always used to catch you with Trev, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
Trav City.
Absolutely. Salute to him. But talk about a little bit of how you came up and what got you influenced into graffiti art.
Oh man, I came up, grew up in Roxbury. You know what I mean? And between me and my cousin Man Terra, another local legend, we were always in his room, just kind of thinking of a master plan. Ironically, his bedroom is located directly above DJ Nesquik. So
Mm,
when we heard him practicing, we would always get like, you know, we would have the behind the scenes scoop to just the newest and the freshest. And the both of us was just practicing on our craft, whether I was, sitting there playing with his toys or he was writing raps or we
right.
was just learning the lyrics to the song. So, just coming up in the projects and just knowing that like if you did something that involved hip hop, we didn't even know how like serious that was because your parents is like, oh, that rapping stuff that's not going to be around for a while.
Right.
But with the rapping, there was breakdancing. There was, you know what I'm saying. There was
Right.
the whole b-boy thing was off the chain. Fashion was a big ordeal because everything from the revolutionary hats to the nameplate belts and
Yeah.
just knowing how to do flips on the mattress, things of that nature. So whenever somebody got a new appliance, that cardboard box went out and we was busting moves in the middle of the project show. If there wasn't no broken glass, we
Right.
was trying to get busy. So I'm just
So
a kid. I'm just a
I was
kid who just like had extracurricular activities that were all based on what we know now to be the disciplines. You know what I mean?
right. Absolutely. So would you say that out of those four main elements, would you say like kind of b-boying was the first thing?
Well, b-boying was definitely the first thing, but I got in trouble for pop blocking the gospel music, so I stopped that real quick. So like that was a career short ended. and
Oh
then
my
and then
God.
the rapping was cool because it was like I always had a book of rhymes. My cousin Man, he wrote some lyrics for me, and it always like I learned how to like end a couple of bars. Like you always had to have a dope ending so that you can either pose with it or like do
Right.
a light little mic drop. So
Right.
all that was cool, but there was so many people doing it between that and playing ball. And
Yeah.
then I was like, and then I got turned out by the graffiti bug, man. All it took was me to see it and
Right.
then just be fascinated by it, man. Everything from that 6 line S on down to my man George Cepeda. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my
Mm-hmm.
dude. He seen me doing letters in class, and he was like, "Yo, I could show you how to do the whole alphabet with this bubble letter style," and it just took off from there, man.
Incredible, man.
hmm
Incredible. Now, um, I moved out of Mass a few years ago. I'm in AZ, right? But every year I make it a point to travel back to Massachusetts to see my family.
hmm
And where they live is in Lynn. So I
Yeah.
go to Lynn one year and I see this massive piece by you. And it was an incredible feeling because I felt like you kind of changed the landscape of Lynn and Boston by taking these old dull buildings and just bringing them new life with the colors, with the art, and seeing that you've done so many murals. How does that feel, man, to kind of revitalize? old buildings, especially in Mass, one of the oldest state in America.
Right, right, and it's such a thing. And just to give you a little heads on Lynn, I have yet to paint it in Lynn, such an amazing part of Massachusetts. My brother Marco 27 painted out there.
Oh, I thought that
So
was you.
nah, that was Marco, that was Victor, man. So like I'm
Oh,
always
okay, 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 okay.
we
You
all
guys are
we
always
all
together though.
like yeah, like
Yep.
you know, like the Mexican wrestlers, you know what I'm saying? The Lucha Libre type team tag team. But
Right.
yeah, so I always go visit him when he was knocking out big joints, and it was only a matter of time before I got like, you know, my first one off, which was on Blue Hill Live. But to answer your question, man, how does it feel to revitalize these old buildings in
Mm-hmm.
Massachusetts? It's phenomenal because like the city's old, and the opportunity to take what we've been traveling around to see. As you can see right now, I'm in Detroit, and this
Mm-hmm.
is normal. You know what I mean? Arts and culture is something that is just thriving in the city, and it represents who's in the forefront if you get the right
Mm-hmm.
people involved.
Mm-hmm.
So doing graffiti for so long and busting out productions, man, it was only a natural evolution, especially going out of Boston and coming back in to be
Right.
like, yo, we got to bring a couple of these home. So to look
Right.
at the city with a different scope now, I more or less look at the city as a gallery at this point, and the walls are
Ooh.
just, you know, what I couldn't get inside of a gallery, I take it to the street. And so each neighborhood is like galleries that we visit, and we use the walls as our canvases, man, just to curate.
Amazing.
Yeah, we curate the
Amazing.
city at this point.
That's such a dope way to look at it, man. The buildings are your blank canvases.
Hmm.
That's amazing. Now I got this kind of a question. Let me read it off, man. Tell me how you feel about it. So, in a perfect world, do you prefer? Because you know you're from the essence. Do you prefer that graph stays underground? You know where only the people who actually practice it can carry that on in the world, like you know the people who truly embrace the hip hop culture, or do you prefer it where graph is embraced by the masses and is done openly and freely?
Mm. You know what? That's a double edged sword right there because as raw as I love it to be in its essence, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's all about discovery and adventure. In the essence of where graffiti lives, whether it's in the under a trestle, abandoned buildings, abandos, you know what I mean? Like wherever you
Mm-hmm.
would go to discover it, it was all a part of the adventure. But the evolution of it, man, it just it pays to go see people who were like enthusiasts of the letter style. You get what I'm saying? It's almost
Mm-hmm.
like visiting a mosque or going to Egypt to look at the hieroglyphics and things of that nature. Graffiti in its true essence is the alphabet of hip hop. So why keep it, you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Why keep it hidden? Because
Mm-hmm.
the lyrics that a DJ would scratch, the lyrics that a MC would spit, the b-boy freezes and that they would dance, we all interpret that in our artwork. So
Right.
why keep it? I mean, the practice should stay true to getting better. You know what I mean? As far as
Right.
underground goes, but I think the essence of it should be seen so it can be legitimized to talk about our present, our past and future. You know what I mean? It's just as
Right.
important as them cave dudes scrawling on the wall or anybody from Egypt scribing into with the
Right.
hieroglyphs. Like this is just a modern day version of it with
Right.
aerosol paint.
Right. But
Yeah.
follow up with that, it's like speaking of modern day, right? Back then, before the internet, right? When you were writing, the only way to truly get to see other people's art was maybe if you bought a graph magazine. I'm not too sure how you would, or just traveling, right? Do you
Hmm.
feel like the internet hurt the development of graph because now everybody can see your style and kind of copy it, and they're not having their own unique styles? How do you
Mm.
feel about it?
I'm gonna tell you a quote that my man Pose Two shared with us, man. He said, "You only as good as your last."
Hold
Hold
on.
on.
You,
Yeah, am I
I
back
can't
in the mix?
repeat that. Could
No, I
Yep,
said
you're
you
back.
only,
Go ahead.
yeah, you're only as good as your last piece and the people you place yourself around. You know, that is
Right.
to be very firm on your style is one level of discovery, but to evolve and advance by the time people are probably peeping what you're doing or biting your shit, you should already be elevated to something else, man, because the world is in the palm of the people's hands right now, and styles are just, influences are going from overseas to the states, from the states to the dark continent. Wherever you can get a spray can at, it's on and popping. So like, you have to run and run hard. I do believe in taking time to understand the bones and the structure of the alphabet to be able to drop true styles. You should
Hmm.
have somebody that tells you about, pumps, lifts, arrows, 3Ds, things of that
Hmm.
nature, knowing how to evolve a basic hand style on down to like, an evolved letter style. All that
Hmm.
stuff should just be like true to it. But like if you feel like you gotta keep your stuff in the cut, I think that you don't put everything out there. You understand? You leave something for people to have an imagination for. So in the day and age of the internet, you got to leave something for the imagination because in real life, we know how we get down. Everybody knows how like they geek out about the sketches that they have. Like you're only
Hmm.
as good as your repetition and your practice, man. So to
Right.
to, to get hung up on who's biting who or who's seeing this, that, and the third, you're gonna never have your shit out there if you're just so worried about that. So
Right.
pride can play the devil in this sport, but
Right.
you know,
Absolutely. It kind of
hmm
makes me think of this documentary I saw um about this dude in Japan who was literally painting Rembrandts to down to the T, and they
hmm
couldn't tell the real from the fake, and they
oh
were
wow,
selling his knockoffs for millions of dollars, bro. It's the same thing, man. Who knows? There could be some dude somewhere in a far off country that looked at one of your pieces, bro, and there could be, a knockoff, what I'm saying, ProBlak piece somewhere. You never know, man. But I like how you phrased it, where you should always be at least 5 to 10 steps ahead.
that's it, man. Because by the time somebody done caught up to your old shit, you should already be
Right.
doing something different. Or
Right.
you would never have to talk about like how many times you ever heard Jordan get on the mic and be like, "Yo, this dude pulls a jumper like myself. This cat's wearing my kicks."
Right.
Like the greats don't ever have to talk about that, man. We just,
Salute.
in the land of giants, man, you gotta expect to get rubbed. You know what I'm
100%, man. 100%.
saying?
Yo, I'm gonna take you back, man. In the early '80s and '90s, I feel like Boston was crushed with graft by some of the region's, best artists, the most infamous writers in the city. What do you miss most about those times? And do you feel like it would ever return back to that manner that it was back in those times?
hmm What I miss so much is just how everybody's name was everywhere. There were certain spots that were like just sacred. You know what I'm saying? With all this new development, it took away the rawness of where you would find a lot of this stuff, man. And whatever part of Boston you was in, you could tell who resided there because they were crushing the neighborhood. It wasn't like anybody was leading a breadcrumb trail to where they lived at. But you
Right.
can, if I went to West Selden over to Morton Street, I know I was in a spot where Lofty held it down, and it was an exchange and an invite. If I went over to you know, um, Columbia Road over there before Grove Hall. I knew behind Interville, that blue building. You know what I'm saying? All the writers that lived over there held it down, like the Mental Field on Morton Street. I'm telling you, spots that where,
Right.
they were just avoided or like, junkies be there shooting up or doing whatever, man. You see some graph in there really holding it
Hmm.
down. So like before developers get their eyes on anything, we seen a diamond in the rough and just turning into a place to practice, especially when there's no eyes on us, because that's the only way you get good. So
Right.
I think when the elevator train got torn down, the spine in the city got ripped out. You know what I'm saying? All those rooftops from when I was a kid, I used to watch, and then by the time I get to Chinatown, I'm going down with the train. But all those rooftops were on purpose, like hit. Um,
Definitely.
the way that the Orange Line train screamed around the corner going into Dudley Station and how long you stay with it. You'd always seen tags from cons, rest in peace, like Net, Hang, Quest, like all these spell, Gun, Gator. I can go on for days. Like when I was able to read a tag, I was definitely trying to see how many names I can like depict. So I do
Right.
miss that part because I knew that whatever area of Boston that the that the tags was at, 9 times out of 10, when I started getting into it, I know there was like a black or Latin brother attached to those names. You know what I'm saying? Where like
Definitely.
the finesse was there. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't until
Right.
bombing got like crazy, crazy that we started finding out that like these cats was coming from the burbs into the city and getting up just to get those, to get that hood pass.
Right. No, for
Hmm.
sure, man. Absolutely.